For the last several months, Tracy and I have been working on these bills we've talked to you guys about on other podcasts, and they've been combined into one bill. But I got to tell you something that's been really an eye-opener for us, and that is the fact that I wondered why CDT codes have been taken away or taken out of the CDT code book by the ADA. And I think I've got the answer. It's called frequency. We begin our podcast right there.
Welcome, all you wonderful dental podcast listeners, to the My Practice, My Business Dental Podcast Show, where we help dentists profit and thrive with excerpts from the clinical business of dentistry training here at My Practice, My Business. We'll be addressing and answering questions with current trends dentists and their teams face each and every day in their pursuit of this wonderful career we call dentistry. And now, the host of our show, the clinical director at My Practice, My Business, Dr. Rob Thorup.
Over the last several podcasts, I've been talking with you guys about Tracy and I working on bills in the Utah State Legislature. And we've been working hard to get some bills passed into a law. But something happened that was really exciting. And I've got Tracy here with us today on this podcast. She's my wife and partner, general manager at My Practice, My Business. Say hi, Trace.
Hi, nice to be back.
Thanks for coming back. We have to pay her to come. Anyway, it was really interesting. How many takeaways do you think we have had since we've been meeting with all these representatives from various insurance companies over the last month and a half? How many takeaways have we gotten from that?
I would say that every single night we sit around the table and talk about everything that we've learned. It's just too much to count.
And it's tough. I mean, we had one CEO of one of the insurance companies. He was like, I never knew this was happening. I didn't even know this existed. And he was being honest and sincere. We actually really like him. He's been very helpful, as a couple of the other reps from some of the other insurance companies. Actually, all of them have been pretty helpful, except maybe one or two. They do not like what we're trying to do for them. But I was sitting there thinking, again, we sit around the dinner table and we chat about stuff, and I looked at Tracy and I said, honey, guess what the real problem is? She looked at me, as she always does. Oh, here it comes.
Frequency. I
about died. Why have dental insurance companies lobbied the American Dental Association to either remove or limit some of the CDT codes that we've had throughout the years? Back in the 80s, you guys, is when I started school, mid-80s at University of Pacific, and it was like that's when the AIDS pandemic hit, and everybody was shifting to gloves and masks. We didn't understand, the transmission of it. And I still had professors and especially in the removal department, that did not wear gloves. But a code came out of that, D1351, which was
The OSHA code.
The OSHA code. Why did we have that? Because gloves and masks increased the cost of goods to do dentistry on every single patient we saw. And when something increased costs of goods, what does every business do?
They increase the charges.
So that they can hit their direct operating costs per hour, so they know what their profit margins are. Well, that made sense. I think it was a big whopping, I don't know, somewhere around $10 to $12, maybe $14, $15 at the most, that we saw insurance companies reimbursing on per patient. And
boy, doesn't that sound like the COVID PPE charges?
Geez, don't even get me started with that, because one of our good friends up north, she called and said, "Rob, you're a little angry with that PPE podcast you did." So I actually removed it. Full transparency there, and she was right. I was ticked. The ADA really tried to help us out, and what do docs and office managers do? They are conditioned to give it away. And insurance companies know this. And they can look, they have algorithms, you guys, that they look at and they see frequency on something. And guess what they do? They're like, oh my gosh, if we could just convince the dental community that this should be included, and we tell the lie long enough, then they're going to start to believe it.
Yep, I'm seeing it being limited, and then it's going to be written off completely. It's really interesting, that algorithm.
And I want to go back to that, Trace, in just a second here, because here's what's interesting. So they did away with the 1351 code years ago. Do we need to bring up anesthetic, local anesthesia? I mean, medical charges for it, and veterinary charges for it, and chiropractic's charge for it. But dentistry, we're supposed to include it. And why is that? Because of frequency. Every procedure we do, we use anesthetic on. Every procedure we were doing included an OSHA code. You guys, composite fills started taking off back when I was in school. And guess what happened? There was a code for acid etch and bonding. It wasn't all-inclusive, and they did away with that one in a heartbeat and included it. And Tracy, what do you think's coming down the pipes now that they are trying to push by bundling? What's going to pretty soon be across the board 100% included?
I guarantee you it's going to be buildups.
And tell the team we're looking at things nationally because we have clients that are across the nation. And what company and where are they pressing the hardest?
So we're looking mainly up in the Northwest. Bundling is something that is common with this insurance company. And of course, that frequency of having multiple buildups with every crown, they're getting sick of it. So the first thing they're going to do is limit it. We saw that about 2 years ago, where they would state that the requirements for payments by the insurance company would be a quarter of the cusp missing. The tooth had to be 50%. It's dropped down to 25%, I believe. Missing tooth structure. Limitations to no less than 2 millimeters above the gingival line. And if it didn't meet those requirements, then they would not pay. So there's the first step. We're noticing more and more insurance companies are starting to follow suit. And next thing you know, we expect that insurance company to say that buildups are inclusive.
And then all the other companies will start following. Now, what's going to be really interesting to see is how many of these companies start including and breaking antitrust laws with the McCarran-Ferguson Act being overturned last year in 2020. And now it's supposed to be into effect here in 2021. And actually, in our meetings with the insurance companies, here's another around the dinner table talk. We're actually seeing the insurance companies, it seems that they're starting to play by those rules. Weren't we noticing that? That they're not talking to each other.
Instead of forming a giant alliance with each other, it almost seemed as though they were trying to differentiate themselves from each other.
And they're competing against each other. We were seeing Select Health and PHP, EMI. What was another one we saw competing against? They literally were saying, we don't bundle, we don't downcode and make you guys write it off. We don't bundle, make you guys write it off. We don't.
We either pay it or we don't.
We either pay it or we don't was their attitude. That's right. Mm-hmm. And it was like now, because of the McCarran-Ferguson Act being overturned, weren't we seeing like they were being more competitive against each other now?
It was fantastic. I loved it.
I mean, think about it, docs and office managers. Imagine if this is no different than any other business now. If we see, like back in the day, Blue Cross Blue Shield used to be the bomb.com. They were the ones that we promoted their company like crazy because they had the highest reimbursement rates. And we would tell everybody that was in any HR department back in the day, hey, you need to sign up. If you want the best insurance, we would often get asked. That was the thing. We got asked all the time, what's the best insurance for my employees, for our company? And it'd be, without question, we'd say Blue Cross Blue Shield. Are we saying that today?
I'm going to plead.
You're not going to say anything? Yeah, I'll just say it. No, we're not. So, and it was almost like they're getting a little competitive out there, which, competition's a good thing. And the free market system's a good thing. So I was just amazed at when I realized that, hey, it's all about frequency. We use anesthetic all the time. We use OSHA all the time. Acid etch and bonding we were using all the time. I mean, it was like, it was crazy. And that's where they attack it. So they use their algorithms and they look and they see how many of a procedure that they're paying out on. And then they'll laser focus on that procedure and they'll beat us up. And that's where I think we need to, step forward, get out of our caves. And I know, I hate to even say this. Do I even go down the association road? I'm going to. The associations, Tracy's shaking her head. No, the dental associations, they're the ones that should be leading this charge. Now, I'm going to say, yes, they should be leading the charge, but I'm also going to say that they can't do everything. And our UDA executive, has he had his hands full. He's had his hands full this year in other areas of bills that they're trying to get passed and watching other laws that are trying to get on the books that aren't as healthy for us to have, both for the patients and for the dentists that serve them. They need our help, you guys. They can't do it all. And I'm just going to say, if you're a president of an association or you are on the board, stop being a stick in the mud. You need to get active. You need to understand what's going on, and you need to, get excited about battling these things. Everybody's so afraid. This is the other takeaway. Everybody's so afraid to push against the insurance companies. And here Tracy and I are at My Practice, My Business. We're in the lion's den. And what we found is they're not lions. They are actually, a couple of them are jerks, but we won't go there. But they actually are, they are people that if you bring it out and you call them out, just like the American Dental Association has said, bundling is potentially fraudulent. And just like in a podcast or two ago, I told you guys that Tracy went after him and defined fraud and actually asked him, what's your definition of fraud? And she turned the tables on them because they were saying that dentists are committing fraud 4 or 5% by overcharging and doing procedures that aren't necessary and penalizing the extra large majority of us that are doing the right thing all the time, and literally turned the tables on them and pointed out that they are committing fraud when they downcode. If we upcode, it's a felony. If they downcode, it's not.
Oh, and it just killed me because if you think about it, I'm just going to use regional block, local anesthesia. Local anesthesia was always a separate bill or a separate charge, but what happened? It got bundled. Bundling is fraudulent.
Back in 2000, which we schooled them on that. We won't say which person there. The sky is blue, and it's one of my favorite colors. And I went to BYU, and their colors are blue and white. So I'm not saying what insurance company it was, but I schooled them when they brought up local anesthesia and how it should always be included. Always be included.
Well, the minute we decide to push back and say, no, they're not inclusive, then suddenly we're committing fraud? That just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. It was absolutely amazing. So what I want to pull back to is the fact that, we've got to stop sitting in our caves. We've got to have people who have experience in working with state legislatures and state representatives, I should say, and we have experience in that. We need to help. We need to help and build relationships. And for heaven's sake, some of you dentists out there, why don't you run for office? We miss Alan Christensen. He was a pediatric dentist, and his term ended last December 31st. And he was just an absolute advocate for things all dental because he understood the problem. But I'm telling you, the insurance companies, they'll get away with anything that they possibly can if we don't call them out on it and do so in a kind and legal and ethical and moral way. Because when we called them out ethically and morally, they reversed course. And they're still trying to protect their business interests, which any business would do that. But because of what we're trying to do, they are, coming to the table. They're like meeting us halfway, which is a really good thing. So, but they don't want to decrease profits. So when they see codes, when they see things that we do that have high frequencies to them, they start to go after them. Oh, what was the X-rays? That was another one. You want to elaborate on X-rays?
Sure. I don't think you guys have noticed this all the time. But ultimately, those panos and bite wings, there are frequencies with that. What is the standard of care for x-rays for panos? It's going to be once every 3 years. What about those bite wings? Usually about once a year. But what happens when those fall on the same day? The insurance companies do not want to pay you more than they negotiated with you. So they're going to come up with their limitations that I mentioned before, which is, it's kind of the same as doing a full mouth series, right off the difference.
Yeah, and here's another thing too. We used to get paid on panos. Our payments were between $85 and $110 a pano, and now what are our reimbursement rates at on the average? 40? 45?
Yeah, about $45, $50.
Yeah,
I would say on average.
Isn't that interesting? So again, they see frequencies. Panos we take frequently. And, of course, we take x-rays like crazy. But I'm going to bring up another one that I don't think all you guys are... I lectured on this back in the day on digital imaging and radiography. And they were paying for a code I'm going to share with you. They paid it like an x-ray. Is oral facial images, D0350. And now only, a handful of insurance companies will pay on that code?
I would say 20%.
Yeah. But that code, that is one of the most important things you can do to prove the need for treatment. Now, what insurance company was it that was making you take an oral facial image to prove the need for buildup?
And they've reared their ugly head again. It's Aetna. They started that off, I want to say it's 2017 or 18, where they were saying you have to prove the need for treatment. We want an intraoral photo. They suddenly got bombarded with intraoral photos.
Because they said they were paying for the photo. They would pay for you to take the wand out, take a picture, and of course that code was $25 maybe roughly. And now what are they doing? They backing off?
They're backing off. Plan limitations. Now it's at 50%, and there's a limit to the number that you can take
of intraoral pictures.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. I don't. If you take 20, geez, bill for 2. I mean, it's like, but we should bill for something. The cameras aren't free. Your time's not free. And anytime I heard an office manager say, we write it off as a courtesy to our patients. Yeah, well, we're not writing your paycheck off as a courtesy to me. So, we need to charge for the things we do. But it's like, again, they hammered because back in the day, we were teaching, all of us that were out there lecturing on digital technologies, we were teaching people that they could charge D0350. That was it's in the CDT code book. And now what insurance company, again, here we go again. They spin the definition and they call D0350 an orthodiagnostic code, and they'll pay on the code once. Who is that?
Almost all of them.
Almost all of them now? Because it used to just be one insurance company.
It's grown. Well, collusion.
Collusion. There it goes again. Well, you guys, I'm telling you, it's frequency. And so the more, it's like, what? We do fillings, there's frequency. We do crowns, there's frequency. Are we going to have to do those for free pretty soon? You know what I mean? I'm just joking, kind of. Hope not. Well, of course, look how many crowns are being denied, and we're being told we can do a 7-surface composite filling on that or amalgam, and it doesn't need a crown.
Well, and I think the takeaway away ultimately is look at the things that you used to be able to charge for that are now considered inclusive. Their frequencies. I'm thinking of scaling and root planings now being only 2 quads. Yes, there are ways around it.
Yeah.
But where is that line? That line they've passed that line so long ago. And why is it that we haven't stood up and actually done something about it and said, you're wrong. This is wrong. We need to do something.
And that's what we've done for you guys in this, the 2021 legislative session here in the state of Utah. The American Dental Association is watching this very, very closely. If we win this battle, and should we know this week? I think
we should know within the next
week or 2.
2 weeks max.
2 weeks max, but hopefully we'll know this week exactly how far we were able to take what we were trying to do. We know we've won on 2 of the 3 topics, correct?
Correct.
We're just hoping for the 3rd one. So, what a sleepless month it's been. But you know what? It comes right down to this, you guys. We have to stand up for our profession, and so that we can be paid fairly for what we do. And the thing that's really irritating me is how often we are seeing offices will have denied insurance claims but we teach you guys how to fire back and to push back on those denied claims, and then you get paid for it. And I'm telling you, I'm just 2 inches away from starting to charge an administrative fee, and I think that's something that might come up next year or the year after that as a proposed bill to say, look, because we know for a fact insurance companies are denying these claims on a routine basis because they know that look how many, here's the killer. How many offices get brand new office managers that haven't been through training, and they see something come from the insurance company that says non-payable, non-billable, write it off, and they write it off, Trace. How many times do you see that?
Oh, and more times than you can count. And it's the most frustrating thing to see somebody just willingly throw that money away. All that hard earned work.
Yeah, and you got team members. That's where your increased wages come from, your bonuses and docs. That's where your money comes from. You can't be writing that off routinely. That's why when you guys read the EOBs, don't believe them. Know that you can push back peer-to-peer, whatever it takes. Do not let these guys walk all over you. And this is, again, one of the things we teach in our training. We teach you state laws. We know the state laws in multiple states wherever our clients are at. We know what your state insurance commission, we know what their rules and regs are, and they give us information on how we can push back. We teach you guys how to file complaints against insurance companies. They can't bounce you from their program if you file a complaint. It just costs them money, a lot of money. So the more we push back and the more we start taking our industry back the way it should be, so we can practice dentistry, so we can sound like Tweety Bird just saying, so we can practice dentistry the way we know we should practice it. Until we do that, we're going to keep getting a lot of pushback from these insurance companies trying to set the rules and regulations and trying to interpret new definitions on the CDT codes. So don't do it. Trace, any parting words for our listeners this afternoon here?
Parting words for all of you. I hope you were listening to that. I hope, in a sense, that you've stopped and reflected on those many times where an EOB has said, limitations, write it off, not covered, non-billable, inclusive bundling, all those words. We are fortunate enough that we've learned a lot over time. We can help you fight back with these guys. And I would say a majority of those examples we just gave, plus many that we didn't talk about today, we can get those paid by the insurance company. It's amazing.
And if you can't get it paid by the insurance company, charge your patient. They're the ones that are ultimately receiving the services. Don't be afraid to charge them for what you do. Drives me nuts. Trace, hun, how many docs? Oh, it's our philosophy that, if we can't bill the insurance, then we'll just write it off as a courtesy to our patients. Does that just drive you nuts?
Absolutely. And then the team will turn to the doctor and say, where's my raise?
Where's my raise?
Well, you just watch that patient walk out the door with your raise.
There went your raise right out the door when you decided to take control of those finances there. One more thing, clarity and transparency. What do we have in our bill that's going to help with clarity and transparency on that EOB?
Ooh, what can I talk about?
You can't.
I can't. I don't know.
Well,
if I can tell.
we can say that we're battling for that. We can say that we're battling for clarity and transparency on the EOBs. And what's really cool, this is what was really good. Even our friends at Delta Dental realized that they need to change and they need to do something better. And other companies that are out there, there needs to be more clarity, so it's not like pointing at the dentist that you did something wrong. And all you office managers out there listening, you know exactly what's written on those EOBs. You know exactly what I'm talking about. We need to hold them responsible for destroying the doctor-patient relationship of trust that we work so hard to build by the verbiage that they use on those EOBs. Correct?
Yes, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, this is a fun topic. Frequency. Be watching for those things. Be watching for frequency on the things that you do, and start watching the insurance companies when they start pushing back on procedures that have frequency to them. That's when you need to get your state insurance commissioner involved, and that's when you need to get your association involved. Be proactive with your dental association, both state and the ADA. I'm a member. I'm happy to be a member. When you show some leadership and you show that you care and you show you want to do something and be proactive, that's the kind of members that these associations need. You don't have to say, what are they doing for me? They've done nothing. When in fact, associations can do a lot for us. So I hope you guys all re-up who aren't re-upped, and I hope you view things a little bit differently. They're not perfect. The associations aren't perfect. We could go into a long list of things that we've experienced in the last 3-4 months, but we'll hold it at that. But you know what? They try hard, and they're doing their best too. Thanks, honey, for being with me on this, because it's always good to get 2 points of view.
It was super fun.
For our listeners, we want all of you to know that if you're writing off a lot of procedures that you do, if you're writing off a lot of money, please hire us. Let us help you stop writing off. Let us teach you laws and insurance contracts. That's what we specialize in. Thanks so much for listening, you guys, and have a great day.
Thank you for being with us today. To learn more about our guaranteed, no-risk clinical business of dentistry training that is changing dental practices for the better, just go to our website, mypracticemybusiness.com, and surf our pages for additional information about our company. When you're ready, give us a call and get scheduled for the best training you'll ever experience. Those are the words of our clients, not us. Our mission statement is simple. We increase the net revenue of dental practices with our key methods, tools, and training utilizing everyday need-based dentistry. We believe that there's never been a more important time than now for dentists to know what we know, and that is 1, how to compete with retail America. 2, how to be profitable with dental procedures, especially those performed on patients with dental insurance plans. 3, how to place oral health care at the forefront of patients' discretionary spending. And 4, how to ethically, legally, and morally be paid fairly for the services you provide. All of us here at My Practice, My Business know exactly how to help you implement each of those talking points and more with our key methods, knowledge, and training. Our clients' testimonies say it all. If you enjoy our podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you soon at the My Practice, My Business training facility located in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call us. Thank you again and have a fantastic day.